The Vajra, sometimes people call it diamond path, Diamond, in a sense, it is already precious, the diamond doesn't need to become a diamond, The diamond is already diamond, let's say, That's so powerful that not like you have to become a diamond, You don't have to become an enlightenment. You are already enlightened. Vajrayana Buddhism and Tantric Buddhism it's the same. It's just a different name for the same thing. So in Buddhism, we have to understand there is these three Yana, which is, we call it like a Theravada Yana or Mahayana or Vajrayana. So Buddhism was developed 2,600 years ago, and in the beginning, that what we call the original Buddhism, we call it more like a Theravada or the Hinayana Buddhism. So with the time, for example, 2,100 years ago, with the Nagarjuna and with the Asanga and with all the other great scholars, so that Mahayana was kind of developed, let's say. And then around the beginning of 7th, 8th century, so that Vajrayana start to develop within the Mahayana in a more like esoteric practice in Nalanda, in India. So then you can see this all 84 Mahasiddhas, who practice all this esoteric Buddhism, Vajrayana. So the Vajrayana, you can see there is the foundation is still the Shila, Samadhi, Pragya, which is the three pillars of Buddhism, which is the ethic and meditation, and then the wisdom. So no matter it's a Theravada, no matter it's a Mahayana, so these three pillars are always there. And above that, the Mahayana developed the concept or the idea of this whole emptiness, shunyata, and the ultimate truth and relative truth. There's two different truths. So there's more philosophy on Mahayana. So above that, for example, Mahayana was more emphasizing on the bodhicitta, the compassion, and benefit other beings instead of self-liberation. So some great bodhisattva, they kind of avoid or reject their own enlightenment in order to serve the sentient beings. So they talk about the great compassion, the great loving kindness. So now when you look at the Vajrayana, so Vajrayana is mostly using the technique of, for example, Deity yoga and the mandala. In the Vajrayana, they use the whole physical body, the channel and the wind practice, and then the bindu, the dot, let's say, the energy in the body. So using both Theravada and Mahayana, like they are kind of avoiding all the let's say samsara, or all the three poisons, which is aversion, desire, ignorance. So they try to avoid, and they try to kind of protect themselves from all these obstacles, 3 poisons, 5 poisons. But Vajrayana kind of embrace all this so-called defilement, all this so-called 3 poisons, and transform into this energy, let's say, that no matter the anger energy or the desire or lust energy or even the ignorance or even the jealousy or the pride, so they kind of use that energy as a fuel for enlightenment, let's say. So Vajrayana, there is this important role of the guru and disciple, like a kind of, in Vajrayana, we emphasize a lot in this fruit as a path, diu lamdo cherba, which means like you are already enlightened. It's, for example, in a Theravada, you are not enlightened, you can liberate, but you can't become like a Buddha, for example, but it takes aeons, which means countless lifetime. But in Mahayana, for example, they emphasize something called nature of mind, Tathagata Garbha, which is almost like a seed of enlightenment. So the Mahayana emphasized, they said, you have a Tathagata Garbha, which is the seed of enlightenment, and if you take care of this, the enlightened seed, and if you kind of generate the merit and kind of avoid all the negative karma or purify, and then do more meditation and live the ethical life, the moral life, and there is a possibility that the enlightened seed will slowly grow, and one day, so it will be kind of, one day that might be in 5 lifetimes, 7 lifetimes, maybe 10 lifetimes, 100 lifetimes. So, but one day the enlightened seed might be grow and you become enlightened. But in the Vajrayana, the approach is more like not like a one day you will enlighten, and it's not also approach is different from Mahayana, which is like you have a seed of enlightenment. But in Vajrayana, we used to say, no matter the Mahamudra method or the Dzogchen lineage, so we emphasize that you are already enlightened being, so which means like it's not about you have a seed of enlightenment, but you are that enlightened being. You are not this physical form. You are not that your name or identity or nationality, it is there. And you are not your mind or your thoughts or soul or whatever people call. So all these disturbing emotions are there, but it's not you. It's not yours. You don't possess any of that. So you are beyond this physical form. You are beyond that mental, you are beyond consciousness. You are beyond subconsciousness. You are beyond your thoughts and nationality, identity. So that who you really are, that beyond those all identity, that is actually fully awakened already in this very moment. So the Vajra, sometimes people call it diamond path, Diamond, in a sense, it is already precious, the diamond doesn't need to become a diamond, The diamond is already diamond, let's say, That's so powerful that not like you have to become a diamond, You don't have to become an enlightenment. You are already enlightened. So in this case, in the Vajrayana, we always use this very special technique called pointing to the nature of mind in Dzogchen and Mahamudra. So the pointing to nature of mind, which means that the guru, the master, is kind of emphasizing, or let's say confirming, that the student is enlightened being. But for that, the student needs a very like a strong devotion, which there's no even single doubt toward that statement. So it's not easy, the one let's say stranger or one spiritual guru say that you are enlightened being, And it's so difficult to this our conceptual mind. It's so difficult to accept this statement, that because we think like, how come, how possible that I have all this desire and negative thoughts and insecurity and pain and suffering, and like you think you know better, so and if there's some teachers say you are enlightened being, so you think he's just joking, or maybe you will not take it seriously. So because you think you know yourself better. But the Vajrayana path, I think the most important is these two things. One is this trusting toward the Guru, and which is like in any lineage in this Vajrayana, they emphasize without the 100% devotion toward the teacher, you can't enlighten, which means that it's a simple, the teacher has to say this simple statement that you are enlightened being. But can you take this, you are enlightened being, you are Buddha, as a literally, without any single doubt. So in order to do that, you really have to trust that your teacher knows you better than yourself. So it's kind of total surrender. It's almost he, whatever he or she said, and that's the ultimate statement. And it's not so easy, to have that level of devotion. And once you have that devotion, and this so-called the Vajrayana, the diamond path, in Dzogchen we call it like a great perfection, So the great perfection, so I think it's a beautifully stated, the Dzogchen. Great perfection means you are the complete, ultimate, perfect. You don't have to polish anymore, No matter you are a Buddhist or non-Buddhist, no matter you are just starting the spiritual path, you are already complete. And that you are total, you are perfect, you are complete. And that's, I think, the diamond way, the diamond path. So it's almost like there's no any problem in you. Do you see that? But our problem is that our dualistic mind, our conceptual mind, always kind of looking for something wrong in us, or some problem in us. And why? Because of this dualistic mind. The dualistic mind is nothing but the ignorant. The ignorant mind always think this body is me, this thought is me, this emotion is me, this feeling is me, the subconscious is me, and then there's millions of, let's say, the information in subconscious, that's me. So now then the problem begin, So the Vajrayana path, for example, the best example is Milarepa. So if somebody really wanted to know the depth of Vajrayana, you just have to study the life story of Milarepa, as simple as it is. And if you really go through the Milarepa's life story, you will find the first thing is to devotion toward the teacher, how Milarepa have this kind of, let's say, one-pointedness devotion toward the Marpa. And when you see the whole, his biograph, maybe the half of the biograph is emphasizing that that how his teacher kind of really testing all this his devotion toward the Marpa. So in the Vajrayana, this, I would say, the 50% of the work is this building this, the connection or the devotion toward the master. And if you go through the Milarepa's biograph, you will see that Marpa really emphasize this: you are the enlightened being, and then the Milarepa never doubt. So that is the whole Vajrayana transmission, the Mahamudra transmission. There's no some very mysterious things in it. It's just all about this, the confirmation from the teacher, and the student take it literally and really conforming that statement. And now the interesting part, the third element in the Vajrayana comes the Deity Yoga. The Deity Yoga is which you visualize yourself or your guru as a particular deity, as a Avalokiteshvaraya, Chindraji, or as a Green Tara, or as a Amitabha Gopami, or as any peaceful deity or wrathful deity. And you will see how this method really works, kind of that statement the teacher gives you, you are the enlightened being. So we call it Dharmakaya. That is Dharmakaya. So the Vajrayanas, another technique is the deity yoga is Sambhogakaya. The Sambhogakaya it's almost like a kind of method to hold this Dharmakaya, let's say, or because it's important that not like you take it literally, that statement, you are Buddha, and then the next moment you forgot that statement, or next moment you don't remember. So it doesn't work that way. You have to keep that the pointing to the nature of mind, that you are Buddha, that statement, for 24 hours. So you have to keep that for 365 days, literally. So now the Samaya, the place in the Vajrayana, the Samaya, that bond, that commitment toward that particular deity. So now then the mantra again, the mantra play the big role in Vajrayana, and then the mandala play a big role. So you will be surprised, the empowerment play in this role, the empowerment, the Wang. The interesting part about this whole deity yoga, and there is a Jerim and Jogrim, the generating stage, and then the completion stage. So this whole in deity yoga. Now, that is also very esoteric kind of practice, where the whole this male Buddha, female Buddha union, and this whole kind of looks very, very complex and mysterious and esoteric. So the whole method have only one, let's say, mission is to keep that Dharmakaya, that the teachers which pass to you, that statement, you are enlightened being, you are complete. So now it is very rare, let's say, unless he or she have practicing Vajrayana for many lifetime, or he or she have so many good merits from many countless lifetime. Now in this lifetime, that one single statement that she is fully awakened and enlightened, let's say, in that moment. So he or she don't have to practice any deity yoga, or chant mantra, or visualize deity, or mandala, or or read the sadhana, let's say. And now the second stage is the guru to emphasize, or this giving this statement that which you are enlightened being. And the third stage is to keep that statement for as I say, like for 24 hours. How? Now, that the deity yoga is about to visualize yourself as a particular deity. Now you have to literally let it go your own identity, identity as a male, as a female, as a husband, as a wife, as a mother, as a having a physical problem, mental problem, psychological problem, financial problem. So you literally have to kind of dissolve that so-called the old identity. So the deity is totally kind of rebuilding the new identity. So now the beauty in that, every sadhana in Vajrayana, you can see first, even though there is this generating stage and the dissolving stage, but every sadhana means that the practice, it begins with the dissolving stage, and then the generating stage, and then the dissolving stage. So why? Because first you have to dissolve this old identity, the ego, the problem, all your subconscious, and all the idea of your name, nationality, all the past, let's say, and even the idea of that you are in samsara, even the idea of this so-called, the country, the nation. So you dissolve all that, identity, and you're like literally like dissolve all the information in subconscious. It's almost like equal to delete it, let's say. And then now you're back to your natural original state of your nature of mind, which we call Tathagata Garbha, which is enlightened stage, which is the Dharmakaya, which who you really are from the beginning in less time. So that is the purpose of this dissolving stage. And then from there, now you have to recreate, which we call generating stage, which is recreating in a way the new identity. But that identity is slightly different from that which you just dissolve. And that the old identity is full of problems and full of stress and anxiety and insecurity, and it's just influenced by this negative information from the subconscious mind. Now you dissolve that, the new identity is full of compassion, loving kindness, because this whole deity is nothing but all the good quality in human being. And it's a kind of, in a Jungian psychology, we call it the archetype, It's more like a collective of all the goodness in human being. And that kind of project in the deity. Deity is not some particular human being who is alien, who live in the outside of the world. So what I'm trying to say here is that when you visualize this particular deity, let's say Green Tara, the Dolma, or let's say visualize as a Manjushri. So now you are literally transforming your old self is already kind of dissolved back to the Dharmakaya. So now kind of regenerating, the generating stage is rebuilding that new identity, which is, we call it a pure identity, and as a particular deity. So now that is called Sambhoga Kaya. So there's a Kaya means the form. So three Kaya, the three form of the Dharmakaya, which is the ultimate enlightened beyond the form and beyond the words. And the Sambhoga Kaya is something people can't see it with the flesh eye, but they can, let's say, visualize. It's really, I would say, mental body. So Sambhoga Kaya is more like a mental body. You can visualize, you can feel it, and you can transform into that mental body, the pure mental body. Now the purpose of or meaning of doing this deity yoga, or the generating the mental pure form of particular deity or bodhisattva, has only one purpose: to maintain that Dharmakaya. So do you remember that you are enlightened being, the master, the statement? So now, if you hold this so-called the human form, and you go back to the human world, and then you hold that your old identity, so you can't keep that statement too long. After a few hours, you met some crazy people, and then you totally back to the normal attitude, the normal state of mind. The deity yoga is the method to literally kind of create a new pure identity, and now hold that identity, literally forgetting your old identity. And now in order to hold that, let's say Manjushri or the Tara, the Dolma, and it's not easy to hold. Now you have to chant the mantra. So the mantra is it's a kind of technique to kind of remind, let's say. So that's why some people say why I have to chant 100,000 mantra, or 1 million mantra, or 10 million mantra. So some teacher requests or demand, millions of mantra. So I always, answer, I always say that. So every day there is this 60,000 thoughts to 80,000 thoughts which is arising, and there's so many research that 80% of thoughts are negative. So which means it's going back to your past, or going back to some that old identity, let's say, the problems. And now you need some antidote for that. Otherwise you will go back to that old identity, and you will kind of in this cycle of samsara, which means suffering. So the new identity as a Dolma Tara. So with the mantra Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soa. So what is really that statement really means? Om means emptiness. means Dharmakaya, that you are enlightened being. The Om always means that you are enlightened being, you are arrived, you are complete. So Om and Tare tu Tare Ture. So Tare tu Tare Ture means now from that pure identity, the who you really are, the Dharmakaya, and from there the Sambhogakaya manifest, which is your Sambhogakaya identity, let's say. What it literally saying is, I am the green Tara. Do you see that? The I, not in a sense of ego, but the ego-less, the I referring to the ego-less. Or let's say, Om Arapachanadi, the Manjushri, Om Arapachanadi. So the statement is saying that I-less is Manjushri, which means I am Manjushri, the Sambhogakaya. I am, the I-less I is green Tara. So Om Tara Tara. Now can you imagine if you chant 100,000 times, so it takes, every moment of this negative thought, so it's kind of counter-attack, or let's say antidote, and the kind of transforming that unconscious, repetitive, negative thought transforming into that emptiness, like a Om, the knowing that you are enlightened being, and that manifesting the Tare tu Tare Ture Soha, Om Tare. So it helps to keep, the mantra is to help to keep this natural state of enlightened being. At the same time, this the new, let's say, the pure form of green Tara. So now, if you keep chanting while you're walking or talking, or do you see that? So that's and the interesting part is the mandala is nothing but really shifting your perspective toward the city. For example, whole Kathmandu is the mandala of green Tara, for example. Now, every person in the Kathmandu people are the green Tara manifestation. So now you are literally changing your perspective toward like the mandala. You will not see as this is wall, this is dirty, do you see this is this city, this is traffic. But you see a whole city as a whole mandala of green Tara, the whole planet as a green Tara mandala, and every being as a green Tara manifestation, include the animals. Now while you are chanting that, so you're kind of like maintaining this Dharmakaya, which is the teacher kind of pointing to you. And then with the chanting the mantra, with the deity yoga, so it helps to kind of, with the mantra, it helps to prolong that, let's say, that confirmation, that you are the enlightened being. So now you have to chant until there is not doubt that you are enlightened being or not. Do you see that? So that is the whole idea of Vajrayana, to use the mantra in deity yoga and this whole generating and completion phase in order to enlighten. And even interesting part is some people ask, okay, but how you can maintain that confirmation, or let's say, or trust, or to 24 hours. Mahasiddhas are so smart, so they even develop the so-called the dream yoga. So while you are in the dream, you can still keep that Dharmakaya through the dream practice. And while you are in the, let's say, in the deep sleep, so there's a sleep yoga, which we call clear light yoga. So even in the deep sleep, because there's no dream, so then even you can practice the clear light or the sleep yoga to maintain that you're enlightened being, that Dharmakaya. Okay, now then some people say, okay, what do you do in the daytime? So there's an illusory body, which is the deity practice and chanting mantra in the daytime, and there's the tumu practice, and then let's say if this kind of Vajrayana sadhika died. So how to practice? Then there's a Poa yoga, which is transferring the consciousness toward the Dharmakaya or the Pure Land. And then there's a Pardo yoga. So even in the Pardo, once somebody died, after this 49 days, so even at that time, how to maintain this Dharmakaya. So the Vajrayana designed not only 24 hours, not only in 365 days, but also between this birth and death cycle, that to maintain this Dharmakaya. So I would say this is more like the Vajrayana. Vajrayana is nothing but the practice of fruition or result as a path, which means you are already complete. you are already enlightened. It is the ultimate goal to recognize your nature of mind or ultimate being, the truth, and maintain that until the end of the breath.